Welcome to Digital Learning, an initiative of Directorate of Collegiate Education, Government of Karnataka. Eloquentia 1, the title of the first semester BSc General textbook, consists of the poem Ode to a Ocean by Amanda S.C. Gorman. I'm Nandana N.J., Assistant Professor of English, Government First Grade College, Malleshwaram. In this session, we'll be introducing ourselves to the poem Ode to Our Ocean and also to the poetess, and let us try to learn the purpose or what are all the unique aspects of the poem. The contents of the session, I'll be going in this order: the learning objectives, followed by the session outcome. Recapitulation of previous knowledge is of utmost importance, as trying to gain wisdom in the future is always dependent on what we are aware of in the past. Whatever previous knowledge we have will always help us to understand the unknown, the new frontiers in a better sense. Later, we'll move to the introduction of the poetess, and then we'll proceed to the introduction of the poem, in fact, and also we shall try to see the purpose of the poetess. Every piece of art, be it a poem, a story, a drama, or even a sculpture for that matter, when the person who, the artist who has done it or who is the creator of that piece of art, he will be having a purpose. And has his purpose been reflected in the work of art? Are we able to decipher the true meaning of the work of art? That we shall get to see in the purpose of the poetess. And in the end, we shall also have a recapitulation. The learning objectives of this session are to recapitulate previous knowledge. Let us try to see what are the things that we are aware of previously. To acquaint means to know better with poetry as a literary genre. Genre means type. Literature has many types. For example, poetry, short stories, drama, novel, etc. They are all genres. So here we'll be acquainting or familiarizing ourselves with poetry as a literary genre. This session will also induce the students to develop interest for reading a poem. Then we shall be introduced to the poetess, and in turn, introduction of the poem. When we proceed to the poetess purpose, we'll be able to comprehend or understand what is the poetess intention in composing the poem, what is she trying to say through the poem, and then in turn, this will enlarge the imaginating power of the students. All in all, this will definitely better develop their functional writing skills. The session outcome, at the end of the session, the student who has followed this promptly will be acquainted with poetry as a literary genre. He or she will be able to develop an interest for reading a poem. Introduction to the poetess and the background, introduction to the poem. He'll also be able to comprehend the poet's purpose of writing a poem. In turn, it will enlarge the imaginating power of the students, not only from the exam point of view, if there are any budding poets as such. This poem or all these aspects of the poetess, introduction to the poet and the purpose, etc., will help them in their own imagination of becoming a poet in the future. It will gain them a clear picture, and also it will definitely improve the vocabulary, word power, and fortify their linguistic skills, which is a much needed prerequisite in the present generation. Pre-reading activities. Pre-reading activities are always a few questions which are provided at the beginning of the text, a poem or the text. These questions serve as a bridge. Envision a bridge. A bridge is something which connects two places. So these questions will help us understand whatever previous knowledge we have, and it will try to relate it to the future knowledge that we're about to acquire, which in turn will be related to the theme of the text. So here, the pre-reading activities, the discussion of which we shall do now, will help us understand the poem in a much better sense. The first question that is asked here: what do you know about the current environmental issues affecting the oceans, such as pollution, climate change, and overfishing? By now, we can say that the present modern generation is one of the most privileged one, as they have access to all sorts of information. Any event occurs in any part of the world, within a few seconds, it is available on the social media. So most of us are available about how in the present environment, pollution has reached literally devastating states, all kinds of pollution. It could be air pollution, water pollution, and you name it, and it is available. All the pollutions, it is definitely affecting the oceans. Humans are definitely affected. Now the oceans are also affected. In fact, we can see that the marine life in the ocean, that also is becoming a victim of pollution. And as a result, climate change, erratic rainfall, or in fact, we can see that places where rainfall was previously not seen at all, there is heavy rainfall happening there. And where places rainfall used to happen, now there is no rainfall at all. And overfishing. Yes, fishing has crossed all limits. Consumerism has increased. As a result, overfishing has resulted in the extinction of most of the varieties of fishes. The second question: have you ever participated in or heard about climate strikes or other forms of environmental activism? What motivates people to join these movements? I'm sure we have heard about how people are aware from more than 3 or 4 decades. People all over the world have been talking about global warming, how there is a hole in the ozone, how we need to do something for the environment, etc. Environmental activism has always been a part of every country for that matter. The most important people that come to my mind when I mention environmental activism in the Indian context are Baba Amte, or it could also be Salu Marada Timaka, and Narmada Bachao Andolan, etc. Any sort of activism wherein it could be anybody, a person, tries to save the environment, that is known as environmental activism. Coming to the present, I think Greta Thunberg, a schoolgirl from Sweden, is making waves in the global level. Next question, the added related question there is, what motivates people to join these movements? I guess it is a passion. It should be there. I should be the change. This should be the mindset of the person joining these movements. The problem is we wait for others to start the movements, and then we are willing to join. Why can't we start the movement ourselves? Why do we wait for others to start something so that we can contribute? Why don't we start something and people will tag along? The last question here: can individual actions like picking up trash means rubbish or garbage, contribute to solving larger environmental problems? How do you think community actions might differ in impact from individual actions? Definitely, the answer for the first question, small actions, individual actions like picking up trash is definitely a very, very major step. Because if one person picks up trash, looking at him, another person might be motivated and he might also start continuing doing the same. As a result, every small thing has a definite impact. Think of the dominoes. I'm sure you have heard of the domino effect. Here, how every small decision has a intricate link with the other ones. Picking up trash is an individual action, but it will definitely help in the larger image of community impact. Now, the pre-reading activities has given us a background. By now we are aware. In fact, the title of the poem, Ode to Our Ocean, we can see that the poetess is trying to talk about the environmental issues plaguing the world. In fact, she has taken ocean as a subject matter. And what are her thoughts about that? Before we proceed there, let us introduce ourselves to the poetess. I've added an image of this poetess. In fact, you can see that she's quite a young girl. Yes, she's hardly 22 years. She was hardly 22 in 2021. And now let us have a glimpse about the most important aspects of the poetess. Amanda S.C. Gorman is a renowned American poet and an activist. She was hardly 22 years old when she recited the poem The Hill We Climb at Joe Biden's inauguration on January 2021. Getting an opportunity at such an young age to recite a poem during the president's inauguration is not a small feat. In fact, we can say that this is the highlight of her career. She was the youngest inaugural poet in US history. She rose to sorry, she rose to global prominence afterwards. Early life. Now let us proceed towards the early life and inspiration of the poetess. She was born on March 7, 1998 in Los Angeles, California, raised by a single mother, Jean Wicks, an English teacher. This is a very important aspect because upbringing always does have an impact on the person. And we can see here that her mother was an English teacher. Teaching is one of the noblest professions in the world. Maybe our poetess got this, the motivation to write about ocean, maybe from her mother. She also overcame a speech impediment. This shows that our poetess is a warrior. Whatever problem she had, she was unable to speak for some time, but then with her grit and determination, she overcame it. She also has a twin sister by the name Gabrielle Gorman, who is a known filmmaker. We can see that twins usually have different perspectives, and here one of them is an acclaimed poetess while the other is a renowned filmmaker. uh, Proceeding to her career, she graduated from Harvard University in 2020 with a degree in sociology. She attended New Road School in Santa Monica. She has always been inspired by Maya Angelou and Toni Morrison, two of the most profound and prominent Black writers, and she has always been passionate about justice, equality, and expression. By now, you'll be aware that our poetess Gorman also is a Black writer. She is not a first generation writer. In fact, Maya Angelou and Toni Morrison can be classified as first generation writers, and we can say that Amanda Gorman was highly influenced by these prominent writers, and as a result she too wrote about justice, equality, and expression through the aspect of nature. Her literary achievements, for such a young girl, she has had considerable literary achievements. The book titled "The One for Whom Food Is Not Enough" was published in 2015. "The Hill We Climb" and other poems, "Call Us What We Carry," etc. These are a few prominent names that I have included here. There are more apart from what I have given here. She has also been featured in Forbes 30 under 30. This, I guess, is one of the highest accomplishments. With Before attaining the age of 30, she has been published on the newspaper cover of a news magazine called Forbes 30, which shows that she is one of the most prominent persons who has achieved it. Her career highlights: she was named the first National Youth Poet Laureate of the United States in 2017. She gained international fame for reciting her poem "The Hill We Climb" at President Joe Biden's inauguration in Jan 2021. She has published multiple books, including "The Hill We Climb," an inaugural poem for the country; "Call Us What We Carry" poetry collection; also Chain Sings, a children's book. Themes in our work, a cursory glance, when we focus on our works, it focuses on social justice, race, feminism, and identity. In fact, we can say that Amanda uses poetry as a tool for activism and healing. This is what I meant in the beginning or the initial slides of the presentation. A person, whatever he has done, the artist, his piece of art, what is it trying to say? Here we can say that Amanda Gorman, the artist, is using her poetry as a tool for activism and healing. She celebrates Black culture, and she also tries to portray resilience and hope in her poetry. Before we proceed, the poem is titled "Ode to Our Ocean." Let us try to understand what is an ode. An ode is a type of a lyric poem that expresses strong feelings or admiration. It is usually written to praise a person, object, idea, or a natural element, like the ocean, for example. In fact, we can say that the ode is in the form of a letter to somebody, wherein you're addressing the person. Here, ocean is addressed. In fact, we can say that the entire poem is a personification, as the ode is shown as a person to whom the entire poem is dedicated. The ode shows true feelings like love, respect, or admiration, and the language in the ode is often rich and beautiful. It talks about the subject in a serious and thoughtful way, and odes can be formal or free in style. This is an image of Ottawa Ocean. This, I feel, this image clearly illustrates how small we feel when we stand in front of the majestic ocean. So our poetess standing there in front of the ocean, she dedicates this ode to our ocean. Purpose of the poet. Amanda wrote this poem to celebrate the ocean's beauty, strength, and its majesty. She also wants to express a deep emotional and spiritual bond with the sea. She wants to inspire respect and care for nature and the environment. She wants to use the ocean as a symbol of mystery, emotion, and inner life. She has tried to give a poetic voice to nature, showing its importance and power. She also tries to encourage reflection and appreciation of the natural world. To introduce ourselves to the poem. So by now we are familiar with the poetess, the purpose of the poetess also. Now we shall try to introduce ourselves to the poem. The poem, these are the points, the most important points. The first point would be praise of the ocean. The poem is a tribute that glorifies, it depicts the ocean's vastness, beauty, and power, treating it almost like a living, majestic force of nature. In fact, all the praises of ocean deemed true. When you read the poem, you will get to know how the poetess has gone through. She has not stopped anywhere. She has glorified all aspects of the ocean, including the marine life for that matter. The emotional connection. The speaker expresses a deep emotional bond with the ocean, suggesting that it brings peace, inspiration, and a sense of awe. Awe means wonder. Imagery and sensory detail. Usually poetry is like picture in motion there. As you read the poem, you will be able to visualize the ocean and you feel like you're in fact inside the ocean and you are a small organism inside the ocean, and you'll be able to visualize the vivid imagery that captures the sights, sounds, and movements of the seas, such as waves, tides, and the horizon. It creates a rich sensory experience. Symbol of mystery and depth. The ocean is portrayed as mysterious. Mysterious means something we are unable to understand properly. And it is profound. It is definitely very important, symbolizing the unknown, human emotion, and the depth of existence. Tone of reverence and wonder. In fact, the poet is so inspired by all that ocean has. She looks up to it as a person looks up to God. The tone of reverence. Reverence means utmost respect and wonder can be seen. The poem maintains a respectful, almost spiritual tone, reflecting admiration and wonder at the at the ocean's timeless and boundless nature. Yes, time, as how time doesn't have a beginning and end. Likewise, nobody saw how an ocean came into existence, but it has always been there. So, in fact, we can say that oceans are timeless and boundless by nature. The power of nature. The poem highlights the ocean's strength and unpredictability, reminding readers of nature's ability to both soothe and overwhelm. This is definitely true. We human beings think that as we have subdued nature, nature is predictable. Definitely not. In fact, ocean is a clear example of how it is very unpredictable. The best example I can come up with is tsunami or underground earthquakes for that matter. The ocean outwardly looks very calm, but when there is a tsunami, you know how unpredictable the sea can behave, and it has the power to overwhelm humanity. Recapitulation. Let us try to recapitulate what we learned through the course of this session. I have put it in the form of few important points. Initially, we introduced ourselves to Amanda S. Gorman, a renowned American poet and activist. We also focused on the themes in her work. We looked at the definition of what is an ode. To sum up, ode is a small poem written in the form of an address to somebody. In fact, here the ode is in the form of a letter or praise to a ocean. The purpose of the poetess here, as we went in detail, it is to show the true majestic nature of ocean. And we also focused on the various themes prevalent in the poem. A few multiple choice questions are included here to assess our understanding. Who is the poem Ode to Ocean written by? The options provided are Maya Angelou, Amanda Gorman, Toni Morrison, and Emily Dickinson. Obviously, the answer is answer B, Amanda Gorman. Second question. Which literary device does Amanda Gorman use to highlight the deep connection between humans and the sea? The options provided are simile, metaphor, irony, and hyperbole. And the answer is B, metaphor. I've even provided the answer there. Specifically, the metaphor about water making up 70% of Earth, the body, and the heart. How does Gorman portray the ocean in her poem? Options provided are as a silent observer of human activity, as a dangerous force to be feared, as both beautiful and vulnerable, as a place of mythical creatures. The answer is option C, as both beautiful and vulnerable. The fourth question, what does the poem suggest about the role of individuals in protecting the ocean? Only government and scientists can help. Ordinary people have no influence. Everyone, including children, can contribute. The ocean will recover on its own. Option C is the clear answer. Everyone, including children, can contribute. The last question pertaining to this session. Why is the poem Ode to the Ocean considered both a tribute and a warning? The first option, it praises the ocean's size but warns about its temperature. It shows admiration for the ocean but highlights the threat it faces. It warns sailors about storms at sea. It compares the ocean to deserts. The answer is B. It shows admiration for the ocean but highlights the threats it faces. References used for this session. Thank you.